Hello everyone, this is Dr. Taskeen and I welcome you all on Homeopathy Musings. Today we are going to be studying the remedy Naja with Dr. Preeti Shah on our ABC of Remedies episode 12. We've covered 11 such interesting remedies so far and you can get an access to it for free on our YouTube channel. I'll share a link in the chat box below. These are some of the sessions, the courses which will be coming up on homeopathy musing. So the full spectrum pediatric course is a 12 session course where experts from this field will be teaching us various aspects in pediatric care. We've curated 12 sessions for this course, and we've divided into parts. Part one would be taken by Dr. Dhanipkar sir, which already done, and the part two will be started in March. So if you, in case you wanted to get an access to the previous session, you can always get access through the recordings and you can register for the course. We also have the from classroom to clinic version 2, which is specially designed and curated for students, new practitioners, and homeopaths returning to practice. So last year we had the version 1, and after a very good response, we've decided to do the version 2. We'll have total 12 sessions for this course, which will start in May. The registrations are open for the same. We have another very interesting course on lanthanides where we'll discover the hidden lanthanides with Dr. Jonathan Hardy, sir. And it will be starting in July. We have total 4 sessions for the same. Another very interesting course coming up on anxiety and panic, where Dr. Aradhana Chitra ma'am will talk about how to treat anxiety and panic cases by implementing different approaches in homeopathy. This course will be starting in July. The registrations for all the courses have started. In case you have any questions or you want to register, you can always contact us. I'll share the link of these courses in the chat box below. So we can begin with today's session. I will request you all to keep your lines muted when the speaker is speaking. Do not avoid scribbling on the screen and make sure you make your notes. In case of any questions or queries, you can put it in the chat box and we'll address it at the end of the session. Yeah, without further ado, I think I can hand over to ma'am.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Taskeen, for the short and sweet introduction. So we are here on yet another, should I say what? A chapter of ABC Remedies. This is something that we started last year on a monthly basis. We study the A's, B's, and C's of every remedy. Common, uncommon, rare, and polygress. So today's remedy is Naja. I'm sure all of us have used it at some stage or other, but let's try and understand Naja, from a 360-degree perspective. Yeah. So I will share my screen and let's take it from there. So Naja is a remedy from the animal kingdom. Yeah. And of course, it's an Ophidia group. Within the Ophidia group, Naja belongs to the Elapidae group of remedies. Yeah. So this is how Ophidia looks like in general. So if you look at the Ophidia group, you can basically classify this group as snakes and remedies prepared from these snakes, snakes that are venomous and snakes that are constrictors. Okay, this is the broad classification. So constrictor snakes are what? They are the Boidae group. Yeah. So you have the boa constrictor, the anaconda, python, etc. there. In the venomous snake, the broad classification is the Elapidae and the Viperidae group. Elapidae has remedies like Elaps and Naja, the common remedies. And Viperidae is further classified as Viperinae and Crotarinae. So Viper as a remedy, Vipera is in the Viperinae group. And remedies like lachesis, crotalis, sencris, they belong to the crotaridae. Yeah. So just setting the stage that we're talking about an animal kingdom remedy. So Naja needs to have some animal features, some animal language in the background. Okay. So you'll see all those animal features. Then you will also see some common snake features. Yeah. So you're going to see some common themes of snakes that we all know about, right? So we know that the main idea in snakes is what? The idea that I have suffered wrong. Yeah. I have been, God Almighty, uh, you know, did not give me legs to walk, did not give me wings to fly, did not give me fins to swim. I need to crawl. Yeah. So I am in the dirt, in the dust, and I don't have those basic things that God has given to everybody else. So what is the delusion that I have suffered wrong? Yeah, something I did not get what I deserved. So they come, their entire life or the perception of life is from this phase. Yeah, and then you have other, I'm sure you know the other features of all the snake remedies. They will be perhaps more loquacious, they'll be very revengeful. They will be aggravated by tight clothes. They are warm blooded, cold blooded. All of those ideas of the snake features. So Naja will have some of these common themes of the snake remedies. Then Naja should also have some features of elapide because that's where it belongs, right? So what I'm trying to say is that the remedy itself, the source itself, will have features of each of these groups in which it belongs to. So we need to understand all of that before we can be very sure of the remedy. Yeah. So you have to come to the animal kingdom. You have to see the reptile themes. Then you have to see the themes of venomous snakes. Yeah. Venomous same snake themes are little different than constrictor snakes, right? Constrictor snakes, the main idea is what is their defensive and attack mechanism? To constrict, correct? And what is the attack and defense mechanism for venomous snakes? Is through venom. Yeah, so there will be features of venomous snakes, and then we need to classify, come to the elapide themes. Yeah, so this slide again just talks very, very quickly what are the common themes or differentiators between these two big groups of venomous snakes and constrictor snakes? Constrictor snakes, you will see more themes of tightness, squeezing. How does a python or an anaconda kill its prey? Yeah, just think about it. It encompasses the prey and, oppresses it and, tightens its grip till that prey suffocates to death. Correct? So you will see this idea more predominantly. And in venomous snake, what you will see? The idea of venom, the idea of poison, the idea of injury, the idea of toxicity. Patients could be spiteful, more wicked, more witty, They can spit venom through their tongue, the way they talk, the way they taunt, how sarcastic they are, etc., etc. So you will see those themes more in venomous. Another differentiation is that venomous snakes are, from an evolutionary perspective, more evolved, more developed. And constrictor snakes are less developed. Poison is a little more complex mechanism, isn't it? To have big size and just to kill somebody through tight grip is perhaps a little bit more primitive. Yeah. But to develop a venom, which could be neurotoxic or hemotoxic, that is a little bit more advanced mechanism. So constrictor snakes, as compared to venomous snakes, are more simple. Venomous snakes have some more complex strategies. They are much more evolved, much more developed. Their strategies, the way they deal with life is much more complex than the constrictors. Yeah. Now, how do we identify the elapide themes? Yeah. What is the elapide theme? And if we have to compare these elapide themes with viperidae. So what happens in nature, if you look at these snakes per se, or these snake groups per se, elapide snakes, no? The main idea is that they are active hunters. So if they want to go and prey, they will actively hunt. Versus viperidae who would sit and wait for the prey to come and then trap it. Yeah. Another theme is that they for no rhyme or reason, will not attack anybody. Yeah. Unless and until somebody provokes them, somebody comes into their territory, somebody intrudes upon them, somebody attacks them, only then they will attack. And they will not strike their counter attack directly. They will first give a warning sign. They will first say that, look, I am here, do not provoke me. And if the provoker, the attacker, continues this intrusion, continues this injury, then they will kill, they will fight to the finish. Now, this idea is very, very peculiar to Elapidae. Because in Viperinae, especially in Crotalinae, they are all the time alert. They are all the time perceiving, some threat, and then they are so hyper vigilant that they can attack without a warning. Okay, so this is one very important Elapidae thing. If you attack me, I will attack you. And I will give you a fair warning. I will tell you, back off. Don't come into my territory. You're crossing a line. But if not, I will go to the highest level to make sure that this is taken care of. In one of the patients, which has done successfully on Naja, what happened was she has a dog, okay? And she's very, very fond of this dog. And during the COVID time, there was a restriction that you cannot, in her apartment where she lived, there was a restriction that the dog cannot come out of the house and you cannot go and take your dog for a walk. That's what's the restriction in her society. So the secretary, the chairman in the society did not permit to any residents who are pet owners to do this. She said, this is absolutely not possible. She tried to speak to them. She said, my dog is not well. I need to take him out. They did not listen. She went to the authorities, the government authorities. For those of you who are in, Mumbai and in Maharashtra, you'll understand the BMC. Yeah, they went all the way there. And from the highest authority, she took a permission letter and she went and snapped it, threw it in face of the secretary and said, this is the law. This is the approval I have got. There is no way you can stop me. So what I'm trying to say is that they will go to any limit to make sure their ask is taken care of. Elapidae, as compared to Crotalinae, they are less hidden in the sense they will have one-on-one encounter. A lot of times when we look about snakes, we give a comparison of terrorism and snakes, right? We talk about that there is a hidden attack. They attack from a position of hiding. Yeah, that is more predominantly a feature of the Crotalinae snakes. In Elapidae snakes, once the intruder comes, they will give them a warning sign. They will open their hood. They will start hissing. And they will give a warning sign and then they can go into a confrontation on a face-to-face encounter. The idea of attack, the idea of this intrusion within Elapidae and especially within Naja is that this intrusion, this attack is perceived as a sort of an injury. And this is very, very important. And this idea of injury, that I'm hurt, I'm injured, this is almost hurting me, insulting me, yeah, and I need to get back, puts a lot of these snakes in the 6 superclass, just like Camomilla and Cinna. If you see that, if you look at them, that is also perceived as an injury. The sensitivity is so, so high that the look or the touch of a person is perceived as an injury, isn't it? So delusion injured, you will find Naja and some other Elapidae snakes. So, going further, the elapidase snakes, they are neurotoxic venom. Yeah, so the venom causes the paralysis of the nerves, of the nervous system, and they cause damage to the body tissue and blood. Naja specifically will further then cause paralysis of the heart muscles and will affect the valves. So this sphere of action is something worth remembering, right? Because then you can also, from a pathology perspective, come to these remedies. When you have a lot of hemotoxic related complaints, yeah, when you have issues, let's say, for example, in severe, let's say, dengue cases where the platelets has dropped, or you see, wounds that are, gangrenes, etc., where the whole idea is a lot of, hemotoxicity involved, you can think more of crotalinase mix. Yeah. So this is something, um, uh, this toxicity study will help us identify the sphere of action or confirm the sphere of action. So elapidase snakes, Naja is very well indicated if you have, for example, heart valvular affections, at the same time some respiratory complaints, severe, bronchospasm or paralysis or severe cough along with heart complaints. Very, 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 very well indicated. Hmm? So if you look at the repertory and if you pick up these some rubrics, delusions, imaginations that they are being injured, fear of death and fear of being alone. You will see elapse coming. Along with elapse, if you see some other remedies next to them, you see Naja. And then, of course, you have Sencres, Crotalus, Lachesis, etc. too. But this idea that this attack is what? Perceived as injury is a very, very important snake theme. Also, in particular, an important elapidate theme. So now, where are these snakes? Okay, especially Lapidae, especially Naja, if we look at it from the concept of personal evolution method. Yeah, what is personal evolution method? For those of you who are students or who are new to these advanced methods, this is a methodology where we try and look at what is the inner developmental age of our patients, of an individual, and try and map it with how our remedies have evolved in nature and their behavioral patterns. It's a very, very helpful tool in narrowing down to a lot of groups of remedies. So Taskin was talking about the course, I think she spoke about classroom to clinic today. So that is a course which brings you from the very basic contemporary, from the very basic classical methods and all the way up to sensation. Yeah, but if you want to go a step further, then, if you want to learn from there, if you want to study the idea of super classes, you want to study the idea of personal evolution method, then you have to do some more advanced integrative courses. So for those who are aware about this method a little bit, you can see that in the personal evolution method, in all the three kingdoms, we use different charts. These charts act as a tool, as an atlas, as a map, where different remedies are grouped in different columns and rows, so that we understand how these remedies are the least evolved, least developed, and how these remedies are the most evolved, how they first appeared in nature versus how much further, how recent they are in, or the most developed they are, more advanced they are. For example, in the animal chart, you see, you have poriferas and jellyfishes and things like that, mollusks, which are on the left side of the chart. They are the first animals that they came. And on the right side, you see some of the more evolved animals, like birds, for example. So, in the reptiles, in the animal chart, the reptiles are in the column 3. Reptiles are vertebrate animals, and if you see Elapidae, they are one of the more advanced, more evolved reptiles. Yeah, they are more evolved than lizards, they are more evolved than the constrictor snakes. So, if you see Elapidae, they have a lot of themes of adult age, of old age. Within Elapidae, if we look if we study the Elapidae group a little bit more in detail, in particular Naja, the main theme in Raja is about righteousness. I have to be right, I have to be correct, I have to be perfect, I have to do my best. Or I'm not good enough. Why am I not doing this right? I have to be responsible. I have to take care of everybody. I will sacrifice my needs and do for others. But at the same time, I will be victim. Yeah, I'll play the victim card all the time. But this idea that I have to, despite, whatever they are doing to me, I have to do the right thing. I have to avoid doing the wrong thing. I have to be away from my shadow self and I have to think about good things, noble things, moral things. And I have to do, and I have to be perfect, and I have to be in good books. I have to work very, very hard. This idea is the idea of school age. It's the idea of heart chakra. So Naja belongs to this inner developmental age of school age. Let's go a little further. Naja is, of course, the Indian cobra, right? It comes from the Sanskrit name Naga. They're highly venomous and considered to be very, very dangerous. Cobra per se, the English word cobra, that comes from a Portuguese word which represents the hood. When the hood, if you've seen the snake, I think there's a picture later in the slide. How the snake, it spreads its hood. It represents that, cobra the word. So the main idea is that cobras, yeah, Naja particularly, they take up threatening postures. They spread their hood when provoked. Do not disturb me. Or to show that I am angry, I have a displeasure. Yeah. So they can just say like this, this action of snake is that of Naja. Yeah. This is the hood. Okay. Or they can represent it. This hood can come in different ways, in doodles, etc. Or they can give intimidating looks. They will just keep staring and through their eyes they're almost attacking. They can hiss, produce hissing sounds, and these are some ways that they are giving warning, they're alerting, they are giving caution, they are forewarning, saying if you don't stop, I'm going to attack back. So this is the nudge. It also has a lot of religious symbolisms, right? I mean, they're worshipped as gods. So in individuals also needing Naja as a remedy, you will see that these individuals can be very religious, very spiritual. They'll have a lot of clairvoyance. Now, all snakes in general, okay, all snakes in general have this idea of seduction, isn't it? This is a snake feature, nothing new. So if they are trying to seduce you, or if they, seduction is their strategy, no? Like withdrawal can be their strategy, or hiding can be their strategy. Hiding, attacking from a position of hiding, that can be a snake strategy, right? In animals, what we do is we identify what is their strategy for survival, what is their strategy of attack, or what is their strategy of defense. And that's how you come to the sub kingdom, the subgroups in animals, isn't it? That's what we do. So one of the strategies for snakes is in particular seduction. They will seduce you. You will not even come to know this person needs snake remedy. You will not even come to know that this person has fooled you, yeah, or taken you for a joyride. The seduction technique in Naja is very, very interesting. And you can come, if you come to the snake, and then if you identify this seduction category, strategy, you can come very confidently prescribe Naja. So, what is Naja's seduction strategy? Duty. They are not going to be bombastic and loud. They're not going to be having flashy clothes and red bold lipstick, and they're not going to be out there like lacasis. Yeah, they are not that. They are indirect. They are not telling you that I am trying to seduce you. I'm going to be, wearing bold clothes, and I'm going to be sexy, and no, no, no. They are going to be showing their seduction in an indirect. That means not my looks, not my achievements also, but see how responsible I am, how duty conscious I am. See, I'm taking such amazing responsibility of my family. Their duty is their strategy. Like in elapse as a remedy, their strategy is that, you know, how nicely they have cooked a meal or how beautifully they've decorated the house. You enter their house and you say, wow, they're going to seduce you through what they have done, how they've decorated the house or how well they've cooked the meal. That is your strategy of seduction. So each of these snakes have different ways to seduce. In Naja, it is duty. So if you look at the repertory and you see delusions neglected, he has his duty. In complete repertory 2021 version, you have only one remedy Naja. Perhaps in the later versions there are more. Okay. Especially neglected his duty during headache. Only single remedy Naja. And the neglected duty, there are more remedies, 28 remedies. And then if you see duty want of, the exact opposite polarity. What you see? Remedies like Calcaria, who is trying to avoid taking duty, trying to shove away responsibility. You know what I'm trying to say? You see the difference between a Calcaria personality and Naja personality. And when they're undertaking this ordeals or tasks, taking responsibility of their entire family or their organization or whatever, at the same time, it is accompanied by the fear that, oh my God, what if I fail? Oh my God, what if I fail? What if I don't do a good job? Or the idea that I am not adequate enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not perfect enough, I don't know this well enough. They always have this idea. So you see Naja covered in these two rupees also. They're very good at what they do. Okay. They are, champions at what they do. But they're always doubting themselves that I'm not good enough. I'm not capable enough. What if I fail? What if I fail my duty? And how will people judge me? How will people perceive me? What will my family think about me? So their image in front of their family, in front of the society, and how they perceive themselves, how they see themselves, is very, very important to them. And hence, you have to differentiate Naja with also remedies like silica. They want people to think about them in a particular way. And then they have this fear of failure, fear of being judged, etc. So it looks like a lot like silica that way. If you look at the rubric, mind self-depreciation. Naja is there in 3 marks, and I'm not good enough. I'm not perfect enough. I do so much. I put in a lot of effort. I do multitask. I take responsibilities for everyone, but I'm failing. I'm not doing it well enough. Their perception in the society is that they are very strong and capable. In fact, they are a prototype of successful women. They play various roles for others. They are workaholic. And they are pushed by this inner strong sense of duty. I have to do it. I have to do it. but constantly feels that whatever she does is not the right thing. And hence, this is a very typical school age feature. And because of this duty consciousness, righteousness, taking responsibility, doing the right thing, this gives them a sense of sovereignty and nobility, so that they carry themselves with a particular grace and pride, and they want to hold their head high. And they command a sort of respect from people. And they can also instill fear in other people because, they carry this aura with themselves. That, yes, I have fulfilled my duty. I am perfect. And all this for what? To seduce, to get appreciation, to get a social identity, to feel accepted from others. So hence silica life, fixed image, fear of failure, aiming for perfection, feeling I'm not good enough. So you have to always keep in DD silica. Now all this is perfect, but remember they are also a snake, right? So this idea that I am being wrong, I am being neglected, that I have suffered wrong, will always be there in the background. So imagine this whole duty, responsibility, perfection, nobility, all of that, you mix it with that I am being suffered wrong, I have been neglected, I have been wrong. That's an injury. Yeah, I perceive that as an injury. So you see rubrics like delusion, head is injured, delusion is being injured by his surroundings. You see remedies like Naja. So from Vital Quest, if you look, rubrics of Naja with the theme of injury, you will see somebody is hitting my head with an axe. Delusion, head being injured, we spoke about. Delusion, he's being injured by surroundings. Delusion, carriage is turned over. Dreams of fire, suicidal disposition with an axe. So in patient expression, they'll say, I don't interfere into your affairs, you don't interfere into mine. If you intrude into my life, I shall not spare you. Don't come close. Don't do it. I'm warning you. Stay where you are. Or else you shall have to pay heavily for it. Yeah, so this is the idea also of the sixth superclass. Yeah, me and the world. That the world is an enemy. Everybody is against me. Yeah, this is the idea of the sixth superclass. So on one side, they have this idea of nobility and morality and responsibility. And this often comes in conflict with the feeling of I have suffered wrong, I have been neglected, and I have this impulse to harm this offending person. So they are split apart between duty on one hand and the idea that I have been suffered wrong, I have been victimized, and I need to attack, I need to counter strike. So it's a split between the higher consciousness and their lower consciousness. And this idea of split, if you study this idea of chakras, if you see from the lowest chakra to the highest chakra, the lowest chakra is about survival, sexuality, basic needs in life, food and shelter, etc. All the basic things in life. And then you go up, go up, go up, go up, and and their goals in life, their their desires in life, etc., change. They become more spiritual. So heart chakra is right in the between the higher consciousness chakras and the lower consciousness chakra. Its heart is a seat of emotion between right and wrong. It is in the very center. So in Naja, this conflict of their higher consciousness, this nobility, morality, responsibility, spirituality, religious affections, and this idea that I've been neglected, I need to attack back, I need to harm the offending person, comes this split. And this is why it has these heart affections also. You can understand this. So the qualities of the heart chakra. So you see how different concepts and themes come together. Yeah, you can understand all of this. So in the Soul of Remedies, Dr. Sankaran writes, he gives a very classic picture of Naja. He says a clinical picture of Naja that emerges is that of a woman. Okay. Um, um, in an Indian circumstance or an Indian setting, who after marriage finds herself neglected, harassed, and wronged by her in-laws. She feels angry, she feels malicious, yet at the same time dutiful and responsible towards her family. So there is this constant conflict about it. Yeah, can you relate to this? So again, the affections, if you have to just look at what are the other key characteristics of Naja. What I told you is the centrality, the crux, the soul of the remedy. Now you have to identify this crux. Then everything else fits in. Yeah. Then you look at the generalities. You see the sphere of action part. You say the symptoms are left-sided. They're chilly patients. They cannot tolerate cold air or draft. Then suffocation is a very common snake theme. In the proving, there's a noted tendency to play with fire. So in your case, something to do with fire may come up. There's a lot of religious affections. So you can understand, no? I mean, what is the connection between human and snakes, especially Naja? We worship them, we pray them, feed them milk also in some festivals. And in the proving, a lot of dreams around snakes, fascination about snakes, being pursued or killed or injured, trying to escape came up. So these are some of the rubrics, yeah? All the injury related, neglected duties, superhuman control, will contradiction of, no? Just like anacardium. Everything seems wrong, suicidal, troubles, neglected, all of these things. Like other snake remedies, they are also aggravated in the morning. Failure is a big theme. Yeah? So all of these other things you can look at. Confidence, want of self, you'll find Naja. Always doubting themselves, confused, delusion that they cannot succeed. Dr. Russell, I found this very interesting. I will read this word by word. Dr. Russell says in his book, Naja acts primarily upon the nervous system, especially upon the respiratory nerves, the pneumogastric nerves, and the glossopharyngeal. So it's very useful in acute stages of rheumatic carditis. And if with this rheumatic carditis, you find irritating sympathetic cough, then you have a venom. So walls are there, wall-related murmurs are there, and along with that, if you find some sympathetic nervous system related cough, some irritating cough, something to do with respiratory nerves, it's a very, very strong indicator of Naja. Okay, so I will pause here and see if there are any questions, and then I can give you a few case examples. Make sense? Okay. So I will tell you, I'll give you two case examples. Okay. And I don't want to go through slides, and I just want to make it a little bit more interactive. So I'll tell you about this one patient who suffered from irregular menses and very, very heavy menses. Okay. Her bleeding would last for several weeks, and there would be profuse bright red blood. Okay. And this is the same lady I was talking to you about, that dog incident. Yeah, this is the same lady I'm talking. So she said that when she was very young, her mother had a very sudden diagnosis in a late stage cancer, and they were very young. And her sister that time was in the boarding school in the hostel, and she was the one at home, and she saw her mother suffering, and she said after her diagnosis and after her death, I'm a completely different person. After my mother's death, my father went into depression. My sister was younger. She was dealing with it, in her own way. I felt responsible for my entire family. From that day onwards, I decided that all I'm going to do is take care of my family, be very, very responsible in my family. And the second thing that I decided was I don't need to waste time on different things in life, Like my mother, she never took care of her health. And she got this terrible sickness. So I became very, very conscious about my health. Yeah. One of the things I can tell you, she doesn't eat anything after like 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the evening. She fasts every day after 4 p.m. and she's doing that for several years. She says, I don't celebrate festivals, I don't do binge eating. I take care of my health. And any little thing that happens to me or my husband, my child, my father, my sister, anybody, I look after them. I take care of them. I am in charge of the family. We are treating her dog who is suffering from some sort of I think bladder cancer, if I'm not wrong. So she's so religiously, every little symptom of the dog, she would tell us, and we'll follow up and give medicines. And so duty bound, so responsible she is. Then she says that if something happens, something wrong happens, I cannot perceive it. It's very traumatic for me. The dog incident I told you that happened with the society. Then something else she said. She said that, my child was bullied in school. And, she took it up. She took it up with the principal. She filed a written complaint and she took it up with everybody in charge to make sure this doesn't happen. She says, if somebody hurts me, who is my near and dear ones, and I feel emotionally hurt, then I just cut off. I withdraw. When we ask her, what is this cutoff? She says, cutoff is like, when the child is in the mother's womb for 9 months, how much ever attached the child is to the mother, after 9 months, the umbilical cord has to be broken. You need to cut it off. You have to separate. It may be very, very painful, but this is something that must happen, no matter how emotionally attached you are. What is this experience of cutting off? It's very painful. It's very, very painful. It's perceived as an injury, but it is something that must be done so that both the mother and the child can flourish, can evolve, etc. So you see at one side, there is this nobility, there's this idea of, what is good, what is nice, what is logical, what is important. Then you see the idea of pain and separation and detachment through cutoff, through painful cutoff. And then there's this idea of hurt, emotional hurt, which comes up. She says, now my child is grown up, going in the boarding school. And I know it's painful, but I must let him go. She says, if anybody does any harm, anything at all to my family, they have had it from me. My husband is a little cool, he's a little chilled back, etc. But I will not let it go. I will fight till my last breath and not let it go. She's also a tarot card reader. So she believes a lot in Reiki, in tarot cards. Yeah. She's very, very clairvoyant, very, very intuitive. So you see how all the different pieces, you have this, different features coming in together. When exploring her incident with the mother, to lose the mother at such young age, she said it was not right. Why did God make us go through such a thing? Why me? Why did I have to go through it? It was not right. Yeah, so the idea of something wrong, delusion suffered wrong, also came up very strong. So she did very, very well on Naja. She is still on our treatment. And she did I can't tell you how extremely well she's doing. We're treating her, we are treating her dog, we are treating her sister. She's referred her father, who's now in early stages of Parkinson. So you can imagine how well she did. Yeah. Um, she says, "Doctor, you changed my life for good." Mhm. Very interesting thing is she consults us online. So very often, I mean, I think we have seen her like on video only once or twice. She would often keep her video off and she'd be very uncomfortable with recording the consultation. So this is also telling you some hints. She's very loquacious, she's very talkative, but she's very duty bound. So this is one case. Yeah, gives you the idea of what we just discussed. I'll give you another example, and this is a very interesting, very difficult case to manage, but very interesting. So this is a woman, um, and she was a professor in a university, and she is a professor in Hindi literature. Okay, and then after her retirement, she now teaches the Hindi language, to foreigners, people who are not fluent in Hindi, especially those who are seekers, right? So they want to come to India and they want to perhaps, study in some ashrams. So they want to or they want to read a lot of religious Hindu culture books. So she teaches some basic Hindi to these people. So you see her interests and what she does. So very respectful position, very good name in the society. Everybody respects her. So a very noble woman. And she says that I have this one connection with my God. I talk to my God. He's told me what needs to be done. I want to dedicate my life to religion and to spirituality, etc. So this is the kind of person. She came to us. Her husband actually brought her to us, who's our patient, because she is going through some emotional turmoil with her daughter. And during this emotional turmoil, she had actually angina, she had a myocardial infarct, so she had a heart attack, and an angioplasty had to be done. So now what happens is when she has this emotional conflicts with her daughter, she has palpitations, she has anxiety, panic attacks, she starts trembling, and everybody in the family is worried that she's going to go into another heart attack because it affects her so tremendously. During this conflict, she says that I'm not myself. It's as if there is some energy that enters me. It takes over me. You see that some energy is taking hold of me, and in that, when that energy is taken a hold over me completely, I'm either shouting, I'm screaming, I'm abusing, I'm trembling, my heart is paining, my breath is going fast and up and down, etc. So you see, there's a there is something which is supernatural, which is taking control over me, and that is it. That energy, that supernatural power is the one that is making me do these things. But I'm a very righteous person. I'm a professor. I'm a literature person. I do only good. But when this energy takes control over me, I am something else. I'm fighting, I'm shouting, I'm screaming, I'm being hysterical, etc. Now, the interesting thing is why the conflict? You know what is the reason of the conflict? So the daughter is in her late 20s, early 30s, I don't know, like late, perhaps in her almost 30s or whatever. She lives in another country. She is in love with somebody, and she has decided, and she is with this person for the last, I think, 8 years. They studied together, then they worked together. When they moved out of India, they were staying together. So they have been together for the last 8 years. Now this woman, she says that everything is good. But this guy, I have this intuition that this guy is not going to be good for my daughter. I went to some astrologer, and the astrologer said that something is not right. So I feel my daughter is very good, she's very beautiful, she's so intelligent, etc., etc., etc. And this guy and his family have taken over my daughter, seduced her, taken control. She is not in her right mind, and they are trying to lure her towards them. So what you see is a projection, right? What she is saying about what this guy and the family is doing is exactly her perception. And he is not good enough for my daughter. Why? Because I have this intuition. So she is against this marriage. And this conflict in the family is going on for the last 2 years. And in this 2 years of conflict, she already has one heart attack. Yeah. So now the daughter is hellbent, I'm going to go and marry this fellow. And the mother is hellbent that I am not against this marriage. I have this intuition, and it is my duty as a mother to protect my daughter against this. So she says it's my responsibility, it's my duty to protect. And no matter what anybody counsels her, no matter what assurances people give her, it's a very, very good family. Everything is so good. She is on her high horse saying that it's as a mother, I'm doing this because I am responsible. And if somebody wants to take the responsibility of my daughter, that's, no harm comes to my daughter, this guy doesn't take away all my daughter's money and run away, or, whatever, you give that to me in writing. So she's perceiving an injury, she's perceiving a threat from this person. And then she goes into this frenzy where she becomes hysterical, she abuses, she uses all sorts of dirty languages, etc., etc. And then she covers up saying, it's my duty, it's my responsibility. And she goes on, she's fighting for the last 2 weeks. After giving her Naja, she's reached the stage where, okay, it's my daughter's wish if she wants to go. But what I'm going to do, I now don't want to do anything with my family. I'm going to go to some ashram, and I'm going to dedicate my life to spiritual studies. So you see, on one side, this whole idea of spirituality, nobility, responsibility, sovereignty, duty consciousness. On other side is somebody is pursuing, somebody is attacking, I am being, harassed. Everybody is trying to explain me, everybody is harassing me. That is her perception. And now she's conflicted in this love-hate relationship with him. So she's on actually Naja 10M. She's doing very, very good. And this whole family conflict, this drama is being supported by Naja. All her, she was sleepless at night. She used to have anxiety, panic attacks. She used to have hysterical attacks. All of that has subsided. And the family feels much more confident about this whole thing. So again, just giving you the idea of these kind of personalities, yeah, they will never accept their shadow self. They will portray themselves as somebody who's very, very noble. What they're doing is very, very good. So even if they attack somebody, they abuse somebody, they're going to cover up and say that I'm not doing it. Somebody is doing it via me. Okay. All right. So this is about Naja from me. I see there are some questions on the chart. So the first question I say is, how do you differentiate Naja with Crotalis? So I started my talk with that, right? You have to differentiate Elapidae and Protagini, they're completely different groups. So go back to the recording what I said. So you have to differentiate it, and then Protagini has a completely different energy. Yeah. So that's that. What are the physical symptoms of your first patient, the lady with the dog? So profuse irregular menses. She was operated once, so she has huge fibroids, but her fibroid was removed. Yeah? So not entire hysterectomy, I think just myectomy, but he still continued to have profuse bleeding. So that's taken care of. Then what else do we have?
Ma'am, Meera Zaveri writes, how did you come to snake in this case? Many times Naja comes very close to lack defiler. Please explain.
Yes, yes, yes. Not just Naja, a lot of these snake remedies, no? Sometimes the way they seduce, the way they portray a picture about themselves, no? They are very hidden. You'll not, perhaps a lot of snakes you will miss in the first consultation because they portray such an image about themselves. They'll be so hidden, you're going to miss them. Yeah, so they are going to look like silica. They're going to look like, some lack remedy, etc. But you have to read between the lines. What is underneath? What is the family talking about them? How are they behaving with the staff? So you'll have to see that and figure that out. In this case, the whole idea, no? In this second case, if you're asking how did I come to the snake, I mean, this entire idea that I'm being wrong, the idea that some supernatural power is doing something, they are doing this to me. I am the victim. I am victimized. It's a very, 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 very typical snake idea.
Dr. Aniket writes, kindly differentiate between Aurum and Naja in brief.
Yeah. So it's a very good question because the idea of responsibility is very strong in both of them, correct? Um, in Aurum, however, you will not see this whole idea about that I am victimized, I have suffered wrong, somebody is doing this to me. Aurum comes from the space that I need to bring the whole group together. I'm the one who needs to take care of everybody. I am the responsible father. I'm the responsible king. Just like elephant. The idea is responsibility. I have to take charge. I have to do. Why? Not because I need acceptance from people. I need love from people. Because I must do this. This is my role. I have to do it. I need to do it because the group needs me. So the space from which this responsibility is coming, the space from this duty is coming, is very, very different from Aurum, between Aurum and Naja. So Aurum has the entire mineral line features. This has the entire animal line, animal kingdom features, and so on and so forth. But you need to understand. Don't take responsibility and duty on face value. It is a very superficial way. When I'm saying Naja, duty, responsibility, don't take it just as words, not superficial prescribing. Try to see what is the sense of the case through and through.
Meera Zaveri writes, please highlight the miasm too. Thank you.
Miasm too. I don't know, to be honest. Most snakes are leprosyphilitic. Why leprosyphilitic? Because this idea is that I am dirty, I have suffered wrong, uh, you know, and their physical ailments also are as such. Naja in particular, I'm not sure what the miasm is, but I can double check and get back if there is any literature available.
So there's a question by Dr. Smita. When a patient says, my in-laws did wrong to me, I pray to God that God should punish them for what they did. But later says, I feel like terrible person when I think like this, taking revenge. So my question is will a snake admit that she is revengeful openly?
They can. Yeah, I mean, I said, no, Lapide will go on one. They will say that if you come to my territory, I'm going to finish you to so they are going to be very open about it. Some snakes may not, yeah. So some of these Rhotalinase snakes will not outrightly tell you, but they will say in a very subtle way, yeah. But in the example that you mentioned, no, that is a very, very good example of Naja, because they feel they have been neglected, they have been harassed, they have been troubled. At the same time, they feel duty bound, they feel responsible, I have to take care of them. But there is an inner desire that I must kill them, I must take my revenge. So they're always conflicted between all of these three ideas. So it's a very good example of Naja. You should try giving Naja to that patient if you've not already given.
Ma'am, there's one more question. Meera Javeri writes, in the first case, how did you come to the snake remedy?
Well, there were indications. I mean, I didn't describe the whole case word by word, but I did come to, I mean, there were strong animal features. There were strong, this whole idea of, the idea of withdrawing, the idea of being hidden position, the idea of clairvoyance, the idea of loquacity. There were a lot of these features, no? So, yeah, there were strong indicators of snake themes.
Okay,
Okay, we
ma'am.
are at the top of the hour, the skin.
Yes, ma'am. We are done with this questions also, I guess. I don't see any more questions. Thank you so much, ma'am, for this session on Naja. And we have also done a lot of such interesting remedies, 11 more such remedies. So you can always get access to it. I've shared the link of the ABC Remedy playlist. You can go to our YouTube channel and get the access to it. Thank you all for joining today's session. Thank you, ma'am.
Uh, Thank you, Taskin. Before I go, I want to answer Vicky's question. Vicky is a very, very hardworking person, very, very sincere student. She's asking, I am some
I
what
am some
potency of
new.
Naja to start? So, Vicky, remember the potency is determined at the level at which the patient is. So, in both these two patients, they were already at the level of delusion. The second patient is already living the snake energy. She's at the level of source. So I've gone as high as 10M potency also. But if you are at the level of delusion, you start with 1M. Okay? Bye bye. Take care, everybody.
Good night. Bye.